Beijing on the appointment of Catholic bishops in that country. This could pave the way for establishing diplomatic relations between the Vatican and China and possibly a papal visit there. Paul Simon says it will be his last time on stage, and it's coming up in a matter of hours in New York.
Paul Simon's time on stage is slip sliding away. The 76-year-old singer-songwriter performing the last show he swears that he'll play tonight at Flushing Meadows Corona Park in New York, not far from where Simon grew up. Paul Simon's Homeward Bound, the farewell performance, is not just a concert, it's history. Simon has chronicled and been the soundtrack for the lives of adults and has been rewarded with over a dozen Grammys. 8 for his work with Simon and Garfunkel, including Album of the Year for 1970's Bridge Over Troubled Water, and Garfunkel may reportedly join his final big stage appearance. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
He placed 5th on America's Got Talent, but a day after this week's finale, Michael Ketterer was arrested for domestic violence in L.A. He calls it a big misunderstanding. His wife does not want to press charges. Roger Stern, Fox News Radio.
At Delta Airlines, we're proud to support the causes that shape our world by giving back to the communities where we live, work, and serve. We're committed to donating 1% of our net profits to charities as we strive to truly make a difference in D.C. and throughout our global communities. For more information on Delta, visit delta.com.
Chicago, Chicago.
Good afternoon, everybody, from beautiful Tempe, Arizona. Well, we're playing Chicago, Chicago, my kind of town. So, welcome to the Chi-Town Expats. Wanted to talk to you about your regular host, Ron Harders, and I'm Ron Lutters, standing in for Ronnie. Ron's had some difficulties with medication and some surgeries. As many of you know, I'm reporting in. He's still in the hospital, so it did not go as planned. He's not in any danger, but he still is in the hospital receiving medical care. So prayers are offered and thoughts for a good and happy recovery. Today we're blessed here that we have our regular gal here, and that's Anita Gurlis from the I'm going to say this wrong, Central Republican Women of Phoenix.
Correct.
Got it. Gosh, chalk one up for Ronnie.
I don't know why that's so difficult.
And we have, and believe it or not, we have a girl here today, woman I should say, from Chicago, and that's Kathy Wynn. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks.
And she escaped. I don't know what year you escaped from Chicago.
Well, if I have to admit that, then I'm going to have to shoot you because you'll know how old I am. But I came out here in 1976 to attend University of Arizona, where I graduated. So long time ago.
Excellent. So we have two, and then we have somebody from one of the suburbs here, and that's Anita. What was that suburb? Philadelphia?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So that's one of the suburbs. Any rate, we're glad to have you both here, and we're glad that we all escaped from those towns.
Well, I have to say Pittsburgh is a good town.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the name
It's
of
a good city.
The name of the radio programming that we're on is Center Right Radio. So we're going to talk about some political issues, and we're going to talk about them from the political right.
Right.
One of the things we wanted to talk about real briefly, we talked about it last week, and that is Prop 127. This is the Clean Energy for a Healthy Arizona bill. It's the names of these things are not truthful. Arizona has clean energy. We have nuclear power plant, the cleanest energy that we can produce. And we've got, once again, we've got California people that are trying to push this, and it's for solar energy. And it's not a good plan. We're opposed to it.
Yes.
It will raise your rates probably $1,000 at least a year or more. And as it ripples through society, guess what happens? All products and goods go up. So this is a bad bill, and we would ask that you vote no on that.
And I do have to say something on that. There is some studies that have gone out that I have seen, And they cite studies that say, oh no, we're not going to be, you won't have to close the nuclear power plant. You won't have, your rates won't go up, etc. Those studies, when I looked them up, they were all left-leaning groups. So, of course, they're going to say everything's rosy.
Well, and they said the same thing to Californians, and
Exactly.
their rates went up 3 times as much. Not what we're talking about, but 3 times as much. And I don't like California coming and telling Arizona what we need to do, because they have many issues in California that we don't have here, and I think we still need to, govern with a conservative hand, especially when it comes to our electric bills. And
Yes.
APS is fighting this.
Correct.
And because they understand the impact it would have on our state and our community.
Well, Kathy Wynn, guess what? This is a constitutional amendment.
Correct.
This isn't
Right.
just a regular,
Right.
we ought to switch over.
Right.
This is a constitutional issue. And once it gets into the Constitution, you can't change it very easily.
Right, right.
And so this is a bad bill, bad legislation.
And the person behind it, Tom Stiers from California, is a California billionaire. He's dumping hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars into our state. And he has a self-interest in that because of the organizations and the companies that he owns. He will profit from this if it passes. So it's not out of any altruism, it's out of greed. And so when it's someone's personal greed that's motivating something, I think we all agree to vote no on 127.
Yes, and we've talked about that. We took the last couple of weeks.
Can I make a comment to that?
Sure.
And he is a billionaire. And what I find so hypocritical is it is the left who are all about how they hate the billionaires, how they're supposed to. So they want to take something that the billionaire is proposing, and he's the big proponent, and they want to make him richer.
Yes.
Just had to say that.
Now, before we get into Kathy Wynn's issues here, she's running for.
I'm running for the Maricopa Community College Board, the at-large seat. So there's 5 districts and 2 at-large seats, and one of them is open this year, and I'm running for that seat.
And we're going to talk about that. Now, there's something really important that we're trying to do on this show. One, we're trying to talk about issues that are important to real people. I mean, voting for the Senate, voting for the House, those are important issues. But Kathy's local.
Yeah.
Right.
She's local. We can talk to her. We got her here. I called her up, and she said, sure, I'd be happy to talk to the audience. This is what we need. We need to start at the bottom of our ballot. This is a sample ballot here, and work our way up to the top. That's really important because so many people start at the top, and then they'll vote for McSally, and they'll vote for Doug Ducey, and they start down. Then they get down further, and then, who is Kathy Wynn? I don't know her, so I won't vote. Yeah. We want you to know her, and we want you to vote for her before you vote for McSally and Ducey.
And I also heard that it is the Republicans that are the ones who do not vote the whole ballot more so than the Democrats.
Yes.
Which is exactly the reason why the Democrats know that they can get into these state and local seats.
Now, I want to get into this. We've had on the show here, we've had Debbie Vanderboom.
Yes.
Boomer, I call her. It's the first time I've ever heard that, but at any rate, Boomer, Jean McGrath, and you.
Yes.
And right now, education is imperative. I've been trying to deal with some people from other countries lately, and they're trying to get ahead, and they say, why is it that all Americans seem to be so successful? Guess what it is?
Education is a critical component to future success for not only our students, but for a community, for the economy. Even some people that maybe didn't go right out of high school, but come back after they've had their families. Just so you know, the Maricopa Community College is the largest community college system in the country.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We have a budget of $1.6 billion. That is why you have some contention about how those dollars are spent. I'm a fiscal conservative. I want lower taxes, lower tuition. Before, when we've had the board in liberal control, they raised tuition 7 to 8 times. If education isn't affordable, then our students can't get access to it. And our state colleges have just recently raised tuition. So Maricopa Community College can meet the basic curriculum for students, and do it at a reasonable price so that when kids get out of college, they're not so in debt. So Maricopa Community College, you can go there for a couple of years and then go on to your 4-year college, get the same degree, and not have to be so in debt when you get out. And I think it's really important that people understand the community college system. We have wonderful professors there. We have great coursework, and a lot of people have benefited from the Maricopa Community College system. But we have to be fiscally responsible with the dollars that taxpayers are spending for that college system.
You know, once again, getting local control over our education is critical. We have a Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and they haven't educated one student yet. But local control is the key to everything because, as we know, various ones of the community colleges specialize. I believe Glendale Community College tends to nursing.
We have a wonderful, amazing nursing program, and medicine is such a big part, given our population and our hospital system, and we have a lot of technical and medical research that gets done in Arizona. University of Arizona, did a lot of heart transplants, and so there's just a wonderful opportunity for students. And Glendale has got a great nursing program.
And then others, I know there's some vocational. There's some that deal with auto mechanics. And I don't know what all of the
No,
schools.
Ron, that is so perfect. So everyone doesn't need a 4-year degree, right?
Correct.
And so Maricopa Community College can offer 2-year degrees. And one of the things that happened, so the state legislature this year outlawed a practice that was happening on the community college. So if I wanted to go, let's say, take a plumbing class or a framing class, I had to join the union up until June of this year. So the unions were making $4 million a year off of our students.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so that practice was stopped by the state legislature. And, because you may not want to become a framer, you may not want to become a plumber, but you just want to take the one class. So I think it's important that if kids do decide to join the union, it's free choice. It's not a prerequisite to being able to take coursework at our community college, especially when it's taxpayer dollars. We're a right-to-work state. So we have to really look at, and these are the kinds of things that go on when you don't know what the governing board's doing. It's a way to kind of use the taxpayer dollars as a personal piggy bank for special interest. And I don't stand for that. I don't believe in that. I believe that we have to become student-centric. We have to really look to see what is going to be best for our students. We have over 100,000 jobs right now in Arizona that need filling, and we should just do a better job of reaching our students while they're still in high school, work with them, figure out, say, hey, these are the jobs, these are the careers, and what career path would you like, and how do we help you get there? And I think the community college system can be a wonderful path for doing that going forward.
Well, and also, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but through the community college, aren't students able to get a 4-year degree connecting with like U of A here in Arizona? And so I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand.
Well, being a community college, we are the main feeder into all of our state colleges. So it's really critically important that, and we work well. I mean, the Community College Board works well with not only ASU and U of A and NAU, but GCU, ACU. So it's a really critical piece of the education system.
And the benefit to that is the student pays a lesser tuition than if they went to the U of A or ASU.
Well, and the other thing is, while you're still in high school, you can attend Maricopa Community College. And that, I think, is a great way to introduce kids to college while they're still in high school, because they won't have that fear when they're heading to college. And I think there's a lot of ways we're not using our system as well as we could.
Right.
So we have an integrated system between the colleges, universities, and even the secondary school system, high schools.
We do, and I think we can do a little bit better job with it.
I think that's great. And you use the word free choice, and I like that word. It's a key word. We'll get back to this in just a moment. This is Ron Lutters for Chi-Town Expats. Stick around.
Olivia from Washington. Laid off and trying to keep our little kids from realizing that mommy and daddy haven't eaten in a while.
Roger from California. I'm grateful we could afford our son's surgery. I'm nervous that now we can't really afford food.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Keisha from South Carolina. I've been skipping meals so my 2 kids can eat, but filling up on water doesn't really work.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Turn off the fake news and turn on Center Right Radio. Online now at centerright.live.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 14.
41, 31, 13.
We took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted.
I
realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
And it's a beautiful day here at the Search Engine and Digital Marketing Race in beautiful Tempe, Arizona. The horses lining up at the gate now, waiting for the bell. And they're off. It's just a two-way race today between your business brand and your relentless competition. Oh, but wait a minute. You've just hired Warhorse Agency for your digital marketing and are quickly taking the lead in your market. Well, hang on to your seat, though. Your competition started their own Google AdWords pay-per-click campaign and are trying to catch up to you now. Good for you, though. They have no idea what they're doing. But don't worry yet. Your digital marketing jockey at Warhorse Agency tirelessly regains the lead with a great viral Facebook ad as well as your own Google SEO and pay-per-click campaign ran by a Warhorse, true leading generating professional. Holy smokes, your business just got a major lead. You're on the first page of Google now, and as they approach the finish line, your business wins. Thanks, Warhorse Agency, for another smashing victory. Contact us today for your free digital marketing evaluation. Visit us at www.gowarhorse.com today.
You're listening to America's favorite political discussion on Center Right Radio.
Welcome back to Center Right Radio. This is Ron Lutters, and we have a special guest today, and that's Kathleen Wynn. And win she will in November. How's that for a segue?
I love that.
That was very good.
And I would tell people, if you want to learn more, go to win4mcc.com. And you can check me out on Facebook. I have a Facebook page and Instagram and all that good stuff that you're supposed to have these days. So, but I really appreciate being here today. So thank you.
Well, thank you for coming. You're also running with Debbie and Jean McGrath, Debbie Vanderboom and Jean McGrath, and we've noticed that there's been a political shift of late with the community college board. Tell us about that.
So the college board was more left-leaning, more liberal for the last 50 years. And in the last 21 months now, it became more conservative. And during that time, a lot of waste was cut. The budget actually was lowered. They're putting 10% away in savings. So the board has operated more fiscally conservative. And I think the lower tuition we touched on, but it's really important. If we have 75,000 disengaged youth right now in Maricopa County, meaning ages 16 to 24. They're not in high school, they're not in college, and they're not working. And we have over 100,000 jobs. So I think we can do a better job.
That sounds like there needs to be some work done there.
Yeah, you know, and in Arizona right now, if you're 16, you can say, I don't want to go to high school anymore. I can just sign myself out. So I think the good thing that happened this year with Red for Ed is it gave us a focus on education, and we really need to look. We took care of our teachers. Now we need to turn and center our thoughts and our work on students, because who is education for but for our students? And so that's what the conservatives are doing, and they're focused on students. They're working with businesses, and I think we can match them up and do a better job.
That's one of the things that bothered me a lot about this Red for Ed thing, when they took 6 days off of school, and you left these poor kids at home. Their parents had to take time off work. And education should be student oriented. Never, ever, ever other than that. Now I understand everybody's got to make a living, and you know, and I think that's there. People understand that. But if we don't think of the children, we get a real problem in a few years. And if you're talking about we have 75,000, I'll use the word stranded, stranded children out there that aren't really productive in society, we got a problem, especially when we have 100,000 jobs. Now, we just, if I'm not mistaken, didn't we just change presidents of the community college, or whatever the leader is, president or
I think she's been there.
Chancellor, whatever.
I think the chancellor's been there about 3 years. So I think she's been there. I think by all accounts she's doing a good job. We do have 2 colleges that are in danger of losing some funding, because one of the ways that a community college is judged is by the way that students repay their loans. So we have some issues with loan repayment, but I've analyzed all the campus, and we're going to have to do some work. I think Estrella Mountain and Phoenix College are in danger of losing that, and they need to concentrate on collections and getting their student loans paid, because education, although it's lower, it's not free, and we need to work on that. So, but again, you want this system that is the largest to be a model for other places in the country, and I think that's what we can do with this. I think with all the growth that's happening in Phoenix, with all the businesses, I believe our attention is now on education. So let's take this time and really do the right things by it, and manage it fiscally and responsibly, and to our students' benefit.
Well, Kathleen Wynne, there's this discussion more on the East Coast, thank God, than here, with free education for everybody. Why is that a bad idea?
Well, if we have free education, how are we going to fund our teachers? And
they'll work for free, I believe.
Not according to the ones that just, I think, you know.
Not according to, excuse me, invest in Red now, or whatever, invest in Ed now.
Yeah, I think that in order for there to be a benefit, there has to be some kind of fee for it. You can get scholarships, though. I mean, there is some education that is free. I went to college on scholarships and grants. So there's ways to go to college, but I think that also there has to be an investment by the student that this is what they're doing. We do have an opportunity, though, with some of these employers who say, we need people in these skills and we need people in these jobs. So we've had some of the trades say, if you go and you attend for 2 years, we'll pay off your tuition. So there's some plans out there like that. We've had major corporations. I know when my husband was at Boeing, they would hire people and they would put them through the community college system, and then they would pay their tuition. So that would be a free education. So, you know, it's not as far-fetched.
Well, and as we get some of these,
but somebody's paying for it.
Sure, of course. That was my tongue-in-cheek question there. Obviously,
well, just
teachers don't work for free, so education can't be free.
Right.
And Kathleen Wynne, when we talk about this and bringing these things down, you get companies that come here, and if we don't educate our people, they have a labor source that's short of what they need, and they'll go other places.
It's Ron, it is such a critical problem, because if we don't do a better job at our lower levels in our schools, we have unqualified workers and we have an unqualified workforce, and there's many jobs, but people are not qualified for those jobs, so the employers can't hire them. And so we have to, I'd really love to see the community college work with high schools, starting from the freshmen. You know, they may not have considered college. College isn't for everyone, but what path do you want to take? Our student counselors have 500, 600 kids. They don't ever get to see all their students. So let's use some resources from the college level and work with our high schools and do a better job of connecting students to their future and to jobs. Let's give them something to live into. You know, I worry about teenage suicide. We've had an epidemic of that this year. Kids are getting disconnected. You know, they're connected to their phones, but they're not connected to each other and human beings. And we kind of go back to some basics where...
I've seen that as I watch people walk into lampposts as they're looking at their phone and not where they're going.
And for those that know me personally, I do things on anti-sexual exploitation, anti-trafficking, and we know that our kids are being indoctrinated, and that we have a pornification, if you will, of our students right now at a very young age. So content that they didn't used to get to have, they can have now, and it's not healthy. And so I'd really like, that's a different topic for a different day, have me back. But I really think we need to understand our kids' brains are never shutting off. They're not developing. We need to do a better job of getting kids to disconnect from this and be out in reality, in real life, and have those critical conversations about who they are, what kind of passion they have, what kind of future do they want to have, what's their purpose, and let's start to develop that again, because that's been missing in education the last 10 years.
Well, Kathleen Wynn, here's one of the things that it seems to be the up-and-coming thing, and that's these STEM programs. Now, how is the community college working with high school in terms of STEM programming?
Well, technical and engineering and all of those things are critically important, as you mentioned. Many of the industries moving in here need those skills. So I believe that those are the students that get targeted, but we don't target as much for the trades, and they're equally important. Also, law enforcement, firefighters, we are not filling recruiting class. It takes 1,000 interviews to get 30 people into a police training academy. Think about that we have to go through 1,000 applicants before we can get 30 qualified people. So that tells me that's an educational system failure. And we need to do, again, working with our high schools and maybe even the middle schools to make sure we're learning reading and math and science and all the things that are important. But I think a well-run community college system can then go back and contribute to their future students, right? To get them prepared to be there. And I think that gap is missing, right? That we have a gap, and it's a missing in our community right now.
Do you have a question?
No, I don't have.
I'll tell you, I know the candidates. I know Kathleen Ann Wynn.
Kathleen Ann Wynn, yes,
and
that's
me.
me.
I know Debbie, and I know Debbie is very, very dedicated. We've had her on this show a couple of weeks ago.
She's lovely.
And she wanted to stop by today and chat with you as well, but she had, I believe, a wedding in Las Vegas, so she couldn't make it. And then, of course, there's our old standby, our workhorse,
Jean McGrath.
Jean McGrath. Now, for those of you that don't know Jean, and I can't imagine anybody that's really in the education field who does not know Jean McGrath, she's been at this probably for the last 40 years.
Right.
Wow.
And she is a workhorse. And you don't put anything much over on Jean McGrath.
No, and one of the things, I know football has been a big thing about, but it was the college presidents that canceled football. It wasn't the board. And my opponent has said, I'll bring football back, but it wasn't a board decision. And one of the reasons football got canceled, not because I love football, I'm a Cardinal season ticket holder, but we didn't have loans being repaid, and the NFL is now getting ready to pay out millions and millions and millions of dollars for injuries, and we can't write a blank check. And the college presidents were realizing they didn't want that liability put on there, and the student loans were not getting repaid, and those students were not graduating. So they were coming to college to play football, but not to get educated. It's got to be a dual purpose. And many of our other student athletes excel and our baseball, our basketball. So we're not against sports, but we have to be careful.
Right.
Just about ready to wrap up here, but there's a guy that I know that is running by the name of Rock Arquette. Arnett.
My opponent.
And he is funded 100% by the labor unions. He's got $13,000 donated to his campaign from labor unions. You can check that out on the campaign finance reporting. Now, and you need to do that because people that are serving in these capacities for our children's sake should not have special interest money.
Correct.
I'm sorry. So when you guys vote, I want you to look for these three. I want you to look for Kathleen Wynn, Debbie Vandenboom, and of course Jean McGrath. And so we're just going to wrap up in about 30 seconds. Any final thoughts?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. Education is critically important. My husband and I, we had 7 kids. We had 6 kids in college at the same time.
Wow.
We understand. I am a college graduate. My husband has 3 degrees. Education is critically important. And so thank you for letting me share about education today. And vote for Kathleen Wynn November 6th.
Thank you for being here. And we'll be right back after these announcements and we're going to have another great segment coming up. Thank you so much, Kathy Wynn.
Thank you.
Via from Washington. Laid off and trying to keep our little kids from realizing that Mommy and Daddy haven't eaten in a while.
Roger from California. I'm grateful we could afford our son's surgery. I'm nervous that now we can't really afford food.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Keisha from South Carolina. I've been skipping meals so my 2 kids can eat, but filling up on water doesn't really work.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Turn off the fake news and turn on Center Right Radio. Online now at centerright.live.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 14.
41, 31, 13. We
took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted.
I
realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
And it's a beautiful day here at the search engine and digital marketing race in beautiful Tempe, Arizona. The horses lining up at the gate now, waiting for the bell. And they're off. It's just a two-way race today between your business brand and your relentless competition. Oh, but wait a minute. You've just hired Warhorse Agency for your digital marketing and are quickly taking the lead in your market. Well, hang on to your seat, though. Your competition started their own Google AdWords pay-per-click campaign and are trying to catch up to you now. Good for you, though. They have no idea what they're doing. But don't worry yet. Your digital marketing jockey at Warhorse Agency tirelessly regains the lead with a great viral Facebook ad as well as your own Google SEO and pay-per-click campaign ran by a Warhorse, true leading generating professional. Holy smokes, your business just got a major lead. You're on the first page of Google now, and as they approach the finish line, your business wins. Thanks, Warhorse Agency, for another smashing victory. Contact us today for your free digital marketing evaluation. Visit us at www.gowarhorse.com today.
You're listening to America's favorite political discussion on Center Right Radio.
Hello, and welcome back to Center Right Radio, Chi-Town Expats. You know what an expat is?
Expat?
It's an expatriate.
Expatriate?
Yeah, it's somebody that has escaped from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And that's how the show started with host Ron Harders. Well, we're back, and if you notice, we've got a few people here that were different from our last show. We have Ruby Doobie, that's what I call her, Ruby White, and she's a former president of the, I always mess this up, Central Republican Women of Phoenix.
Good.
Did you say that right?
Yes, and current region director of Arizona Federation of Republican Women.
She's important, guys. Just remember that. She's
Not
important.
really.
Yeah. And then we're going to talk water now. We talked education last half hour. We're going to talk water. And in Arizona, those are some of the key issues, water and education. A lot of key issues, but without those two, the state dries up, blows away. Yep. And we have April Pinger.
Pleasure to be here, Ron Lutters.
And she's like a rocket science. You really are.
Yes, I'm an engineer.
There she is. She drives a train. And then this guy's been around forever. Everybody knows Mark.
So I'm Mark Lewis. I'm the elected director for the Central Arizona Project, and I'm the water board guy.
He's the man. You want water? Hey, Mark, I want water. So, at any rate, I want to talk about this because this is vital. We live in a desert, as everybody knows, and we're in about the 22nd year of a drought. Is that true?
It's been a long drought, yeah. Longer for California than here.
And for those of you that have been up north and been to Las Vegas as you cross over the river, Colorado River, if you look at Lake Mead, it's down a lot. Mark, how far down is that? I mean, it just looks like 40 feet or so.
So the bathtub ring that everybody sees at Lake Mead is about 12 feet below its average position. And that's what everybody says. It's like, look at the bathtub ring, look where the water used to be. We must be in a drought. And we are in a drought. We're in a year 21, and every once in a while we get a reprieve. And we're going to have to use less water in the future, and we're going to have to pay more for it.
And that's one of the reasons why we want good people on this water board. Now, April is one of 4 candidates here. We've had 2 of them on the show, Ruby, before, and we had Carrie Giangobi. I always tell people, remember the Gobi Desert is dry, so equate it with water. And then, of course, we've had Rory. Rory's everywhere. I mean, I've never been to a place that Rory's not at. He's always bringing bottles of water. Where is he today? Because none of us have water. The studio is out of water. and then, of course, while Mark's there, he is through you're through the next term?
Yeah, so I was elected in 2016, and I was on the Trump ticket. And with the help of the Republican Party, I got 335,000 votes for an unpaid position. You remember me now. Yeah. And you're right. Without water, we don't have a lot of future. And one of the old adages I like to tell folks, Ron, is the old adage is whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting over. And I like to fight, so it's a perfect fit for me.
I remember that when which governor was that? Fife Symington, I guess, went to talk water up in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And that was one of his quotes. April Pinger, what got you into the interest in water?
Well, I've always been interested in water. Because we live in a desert and because we don't know when we're going to get our next water, we need to keep conservative principles in. So I've been a precinct committeeman for a number of years. I've been treasurer for LD12 for 4 years. And I've seen a big push from the left to try to turn Arizona into California. And the reason that conservative principles work versus leftist principles is because we're conservative. We're conservative with our water, so we get to keep more of it. We have the largest underground water supply in the nation, partly because of those principles.
Yeah, we have. I know we've been whenever we have these big storms and that, we try to recharge the aquifers as best we can. And a lot of people are always asking, well, why do you have these little ditches around buildings here? It's kind of strange. You drive down, why is everything dipped down? Well, that's because the water goes in there. One, we can avoid flooding. When I moved here, every time we got a decent rain, Arizona flooded. Do you remember those days?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you couldn't go home. The streets were the sewers. That was it. And so now, tell us about recharging. Either one of you.
Do you want me to?
Yep.
And
go
so,
ahead, Mark.
so I have a really passion about talking about recharge and flood control waters, and we can do more to capture water as it comes off the house and it comes off the lot if we had a rain barrel program in the state. And it's really simple to do. Tucson has it, Tempe has it, but most of the rest of the cities in the state hasn't embraced it yet. And so you could literally capture 2 55-gallon jugs of rainwater off of your roof into a rain barrel and dump it into your desert landscaping like I do, with very little effort. But there's no encouragement, there's no municipal policies that get us there, with rare exceptions. And my goal is to change the Maricopa County Department of Flood Control to the Maricopa County Department of Water Recharge and Recovery. Because if water's going down the street and down the drain, then it's wasted, and we should be recharging it.
May I address that too?
Sure.
I see constantly big green lawns, people watering these lawns, water running down the street that's wasted. Why do we not do something here in this area like Tucson does, where you have mostly desert landscaping? Fine to have a little bit of green if you like that, but I think xeriscape is really good, and that would save water tremendously.
And so there's 2 answers to that. Number one, if you live in an SRP neighborhood, which is all of Central Phoenix, you have that water right that came with the land just like all those citrus trees we have in Arcadia. And that water rate goes with the land, and you can use as much of that SRP renewable supply as you want. And that goes with the land, and that's the landowner's decision. If you're outside of the SRP area and you're in the desert areas, you want to stick to keeping everything desert area. And the DWR Water Conservation Program has that. But the one thing you need to keep in mind with these big green areas in urban Phoenix is surface water is a use it or lose it right. And so, for example, if you stop irrigating your grapefruit field in Arcadia and you lose your irrigation system, you're going to have to switch from $20 a month water coming from SRP irrigation to $1,000 per month water from the city of Phoenix, because if you lose your irrigation rights, then you're going to pay more, and so you don't get it back. You don't get it back.
But even in my area, which is outside of that, there are big lawns that people water. That's what I have difficulty with, because we should be saving it. And I'm sure they're paying through the nose for it.
Right, and all the new subdivisions have a mandate for water conservation. You have to use the low water use plant list, minimal amount of grass, because the inside water use is recycled, and so we recycle 93% of all the water we use in the valley. But the outside use, the grass and the trees, does not get recycled. That goes up and that goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, April Pinner, tell me, we've got this board. How many people are on there first?
15 members.
15. What direction do Republican, I know it's nonpartisan, but conservatives want to go versus where non-conservatives want to go with the water issues?
Well, non-conservatives would like to turn us into California. A couple of years ago, California released between 3 and 4 billion gallons of water. The estimate is not very clear, into the ocean through the Stanislaus River. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
To increase the population of a fish. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just this last June, they passed a law limiting their residents to 50 gallons of water a day, after releasing all that water into the ocean.
It's terrible.
Yeah, if you have a teenager that takes showers, you know that's a miserable mandate to live with.
Well, I remember when I was a child, we had the Saturday night bath. Maybe we were heading back.
Might go back to that.
You gotta look good for church, you know. Rest of the week at school, you stink, you know.
The point is if we're conservative with our water, if we're careful with it, then we have enough for our residents to not have to worry about things like that.
What type of programs are, I've learned a long time ago, when you brush your teeth, you don't turn the water on and just let it run while you're so happily brushing it. Get your toothbrush wet, turn it off, clean your brush, clean your teeth, that's it. Are there programs that are being put out there by CAP, the city, or anybody to teach people the proper use of water?
A lot of those programs are throwing away dollars to go pick up pennies. The largest water use is agricultural. 80% of it is agricultural. So I think our focus is best utilized on saving water in agricultural areas. There's flood irrigation, there's sprinkler irrigation, and there's drip irrigation. Drip is the most conservative way that you can irrigate plants. But much of what we do is flood. It's gradually changing over, and Mark could go into more of the details as to what we have now.
In the older neighborhoods, I know they still, where Terry lives, remember when we were visiting with Terry, he goes out and says, well, it's my
his
time
irrigation.
To get irrigation. Yeah. And then his whole yard, we go to leave, you have to swim to your car.
So the back to your question on programs. So the CAP has a program of their own version of Water Use It Wisely, but it's all targeted to urban and homeowners associations. So homeowners associations have a lot of grass in their common areas, and that's outside water use that does not get recycled. And so there's programs to squeeze in the turf, upgrade the drip, and do those kinds of things that CAP has. Beyond that, the cities have a Water Use It Wisely program that applies to water conservation. But their programs are mistargeted because your urban water use is 93% is recycled. So flush twice so we can keep Palo Verde cool, because that's where your water goes. But it's that outside water use.
So the cooling towers are all reused water?
Yes, and so like I said, 93%, we're the only state in the country that recycles as much water as anybody. Wow. It's amazing. It is quite amazing.
It's impressive.
It is. And so like I said, flush twice so that we can get Palo Verde, keep it cool, because that's where your toilet water goes, or out to the golf courses, or out to the lakes, because that's where the water goes. But it's the outdoor water use that is not recycled that we have problems with.
That's interesting to know. Now, April, we have in Arizona a lot of water districts. I mean, I know that you, Mark, and I were talking about some up in the mountains in eastern Arizona. How are they all related to each other so that we have a common cause? Or are they just out there and you have one water district, you do what you want, and I own another one and I do what I want, Ruby Scott, and you have one? How do we communicate for one goal?
And so there's both water and irrigation districts all over the state, and SRP is the biggest one. CAP is a large irrigation district, and one of my goals when I first got elected is get the two biggest water districts to talk to each other, and they're doing that. But beyond that, there's a bunch of little irrigation districts. There's over 300 of them, from Flagstaff all the way down to Safford, and so there's an irrigation district association, an electrical district association, where we all get together and talk about federal water issues that are key to what we're going to do, and we all work together on working on water policy. But right now we're in a drought, and we need to conserve, and the water is going to be with the farms, and we got to get the farms to do conservation.
And we need that too.
We do need that.
Farms.
Okay, we're going to be going to a break in a minute. When we come back, I'd like to discuss the term hot ground. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
April, hot ground?
I'm not.
Okay.
You're going to have to fill me in, Mark.
Okay. I don't know that we have so much of that in the community here, but outside of the urban areas, hot ground is a big issue.
It's a big deal.
Big issue. So at any rate, we're just about ready to go out. When we come back, we want to talk about that. And we've had some great experiences with this. And so when we come back, that's what we're going to chat about. So don't leave us. We'll be right back.
Olivia from Washington. Laid off and trying to keep our little kids from realizing that Mommy and Daddy haven't eaten in a while.
Roger from California. I'm grateful we could afford our son's surgery. I'm nervous that now we can't really afford food.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Keisha from South Carolina. I've been skipping meals so my 2 kids can eat, but filling up on water doesn't really work.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Turn off the fake news and turn on Center Right Radio. Online now at centerright.live.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 14.
41, 31, 13. We
took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted.
I
realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
And it's a beautiful day here at the search engine and digital marketing race in beautiful Tempe, Arizona. The horses lining up at the gate now, waiting for the bell. And they're off. It's just a two-way race today between your business brand and your relentless competition. Oh, but wait a minute. You've just hired War Horse Agency for your digital marketing and are quickly taking the lead in your market. Well, hang on to your seat, though. Your competition started their own Google AdWords pay-per-click campaign and are trying to catch up to you now. Good for you, though. They have no idea what they're doing. But don't worry yet. Your digital marketing jockey at Warhorse Agency tirelessly regains the lead with a great viral Facebook ad as well as your own Google SEO and pay-per-click campaign ran by a Warhorse, true leading generating professional. Holy smokes, your business just got a major lead. You're on the first page of Google now. And as they approach the finish line, your business wins. Thanks, Warhorse Agency, for another smashing victory. Contact us today for your free digital marketing evaluation. Visit us at www.gowarhorse.com today.
You're listening to America's favorite political discussion on Center Right Radio.
Welcome back to Center Right Radio. I'm Ron Letters, standing in for Ron Harders. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to continue to talk about water issues and especially that mystical word, hot ground.
And so I think that's my cue. And so this is Mark, and hot ground is basically a piece of farmland or real estate that has failed to maintain their water rights. And it dries up and they can't replace it. And so the concept of use it or lose it is well situated here in the West, and it's a premise called the riparian doctrine and the right of a prior appropriation. There's the two differences. And so in Arizona, you have the prior appropriation right is developed and held for water based on your first use of that water. And so as long as you continue to use it, you can use it for a beneficial use of the farmland. But if you fail to use that water under the prior appropriation doctrine, after 5 years, you lose that water right and it goes to the next guy in line. And the concept is for the arid West here is to make sure everybody downhill would get the next use of the water when the guys uphill would stop. And the mines and the utilities and the cattle guys were the very first ones to develop that doctrine, and there's only a couple states that have it. And so what that means is if you stop farming or you haven't perfected your prior appropriation right and proved it in court, you could lose that right to the tribes or to downstream users who could show that they've been using it longer than you, and you would lose that right in a court battle or adjudication, and you would have to stop farming your land. And so you could have literally go down the road, you have farm, hot ground, dry land, and then farm. And it's a priority system. And in order to preserve your priority, you have to use the water. So you were talking about your urban neighborhoods that were were all green, and if they stop being green for 5 years, they lose it. So that's the doctrine of prior appropriation, and that's where hot ground comes from. And for the most part, once you lose your water right, you can't get it back. Wow. So your farmland becomes no farmland.
April Pinger.
Yes.
Now you're an engineer.
Yes.
Okay. How does an engineer become interested in water issues for the Central Arizona Project?
Well, I'm an engineer that works on pumps and valves and blowers and everything that has to do with flow. So in terms of the mechanics, I understand the mechanics of it. And I looked at the board and I noticed there are an awful lot of lawyers on that board. And I think this board needs more engineers and less lawyers.
I like that idea.
I love that.
That's very
I'm going to vote for you, April Pinger.
Thank you.
No, I agree. And between the river and the end of the CAP project, there are an awfully lot of pumping stations, aren't there?
Yes.
And they require
electricity.
Well, and engineers, yes.
And if we raise our price on electricity, guess what goes with it? Price of water goes way up.
Yeah, yes, can I talk about that for a second, Ron? So, the CAP Water Board runs an electric system that pumps water uphill. We're the largest power user in the state. We spend about $120 million a year buying power.
Whoa.
From 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. We pump water in the middle of the night when it's the cheapest possible rates. As a consequence, solar doesn't work at night. And we pump water uphill to 5 million people. And if this Prop 127 passes, where we're going to have to change our entire power grid and start pumping water during the middle of the day when the rates are 3 times as high, your power bills are going to go up $100 a month, and your water bill is going to go up between 20 and 40%. And so the 5 million people that we serve water to are going to get a very unhappy surprise in December when their power bill goes up and their water bill goes up to pay for this solar measure.
Ruby, how are we going to vote on 127?
We're going to vote no.
Thank you.
Yes. Big fat no.
Keep your purse and your wallet closed. Yes, for sure. Okay, so you understand this whole process then, because of your hydraulics and water flows and so forth.
Yes.
How'd you end up an engineer in this field?
How did I end up an engineer? I don't know. When I was 7 years old, I decided I wanted to be an engineer.
And now you are.
Yes.
How wonderful.
That is.
I don't know what I wanted to do at 7 years old, but at any rate, I'm probably not doing it.
Well, especially for a woman.
The other girls were playing with dolls, and I was playing with Legos and K'NEX and.
Yeah, April's a super mom. She has engineering duties and mom duties and District 12 duties, so she's covering all the bases.
That's wonderful.
Superwoman.
How frequently does the board meet? Is it an open meetings?
Twice a month is pretty much the meetings, and we are on closed circuit TV like here. You can listen to it, but I mean it goes on for hours and hours and hours, and it's really boring stuff. I mean, there's lots of numbers. We need lots of engineers, and my experience so the 5 lawyers we got on the board now, they're not good at math until it comes to sending you a legal bill, and then they're getting really good at it. But for the most part, all we do is talk about numbers of things. And the delta between the good and the bad, and hardly anybody talks about how much things cost, and that's a very important part of government, especially when you're in the infrastructure business. And so I'm happy to have another engineer coming our way and one less lawyer.
Oh, I love numbers. Excel is my friend.
Well, we were going to have Lisa Atkins here, and she's the chairman, I guess.
Yeah, Lisa's an awesome board member.
I'm really sorry. Her husband had chemotherapy yesterday, and he was not doing well. And she felt it would be best to stay with him. And I agree. You guys are doing a great job of filling me in.
Well, this is a team effort, and I got to tell you, Ron, I have a political philosophy that I've used over the decades, that you should campaign together as a team, and if you campaign together as a team, you can govern as a team, and you can get along and you can get things done with your teammates. But if you're 5 different campaigns and you're not working together, how are you going to govern together? You're going to be 5 independent folks. And, And if you can campaign as a team, you can govern as a team, and you can get things done.
That's a great philosophy.
And that team here, folks, many of you will be receiving these cards. They're called the Golden Ticket. And I think that was your idea, the Golden Ticket.
No, District 21 and Gene McGrath started it, and I just made it bigger.
Okay, and this team here is Roy Van Pocky
like hockey.
Okay, Lisa Atkins, and she's the one with the husband that's ill right now. She's the chairman. And then we got April Pinger.
Yeah.
And then we got Carrie Giangobi. And we've had her on before, and like I say, Gobi Desert, so think of her with water.
Exactly.
But we want you guys to be there. It's really important that we I hate to say it, but keep attorneys out of this thing. They don't see things clearly. I'm sorry to say that. I've got a lot of lawyer friends, and they know how I feel about their vocation, but they also, I've been an accountant, CPA, and they know they don't like me either. So anyway, that's the way that goes. Anyway, we got about 30 seconds until, when that sign goes up, 30 seconds wrap. Does that mean that we get a wrap in a sandwich wrap or what?
I'll have
no sandwich wrap.
Turkey
anyway,
and no mayo. Okay.
I would be very remiss to tell you that this big boat here down at the lakes here is being driven by Julian. You know, it's easy for us pretty faces here. Not that he doesn't have a pretty face, but we're here and we're chatting away, and he's doing all all the hard work back there with the switches, and he's telling me it's time to say goodbye right now. So we'll see you all soon. Thank you so much for stopping in. Thank you, April.
Thank you, Ron.
And Mark Lewis.
Thank you, Ron.
And Ruby Doobie.
Thank you for having me on.
Chicago, Chicago, that toddling town. Chicago, Chicago.
She's going to testify. I'm Roger Stern, Fox News. The woman who accused Supreme Court